And at the time I was seeking, and on that journey it took me in all the wrong places. Getting involved in Islam and Buddhism and all kinds of religions. It was everything except Christianity. Because at the time I was very much against Christianity. Now I can look back. At the time I didn't know why. All I knew was that Christians really bothered me. But obviously it's a spiritual thing. But at the time it was, what's wrong with these Christians? Why don't, so I used to actually go and give them a hard time. If I saw someone out there preaching, I wouldn't be avoiding them. I'd be approaching them, and I'd ask them a few questions that I knew they couldn't answer. Why do people suffer? And all those sort of really easy questions to answer, which I knew that they couldn't answer. And they'd walk away and laugh at them and say, "See, you guys don't know anything." And then, the third time I went to prison, it was for drug trafficking and also ABH. And at that time I knew that I'd be going to prison for a very long time if I was found guilty for this. I knew that I was looking at between 10, 12 years. So obviously I was going to go not guilty. I knew that, well, if I went not guilty and they found me guilty, they'd give me 12. If I went guilty, they'd give me 10. So I thought, well, if it was 10 or 12, I might as well take the risk and go not guilty, because I really got to get off of this one. So while I was in prison, every day they kept finding more of my money. So what would happen is, every day a prison officer would come to me and he'd knock on my door and he said, we found some more of your money. And then the next day he'd come again, and he found some more. So I'm there calculating and thinking, I'm going to end up coming out of here with nothing, never mind going to prison for a very long time. So they found a lot of the money, and then not only did they find all of that money, when they eventually did find me guilty, they also fined me as well. So, I ended up losing about £250,000, lost my house, lost everything, really, ended up, with nothing. So it was a time when not only did they, and the sentence they actually eventually gave me was 13 years. So, I was thinking to myself, it's over. I spent all this time, making all of this money. Now I'm in prison. I've lost everything, and I've got to do all this time, and I'm going to come out to nothing. And it was a point where I just felt life wasn't even worth living. I thought, by the time I get out of here, there's nothing I can do. No one's going to even give me a job anyway. And, to go out and take this risk again, I just thought life isn't worth living. The devil was just speaking in my mind at that time. How I came to Christ was, it was a time when, it was one evening, and I was actually in Wandsworth Prison at the time, and where one of the chaplains was going along and saying, it's Bible study. And I just thought, I need a bit of cheering up here. I'm going to go down to this Bible study, and I'm just going to have a bit of fun with these Christians and give them a really hard time, and just have some time out of the cell. So I went down to the Bible study, and I started giving them all loads of grief, asking them loads of questions that I knew they couldn't answer. And then Bible study finished, and I felt really good about myself, thinking, I felt good now. I can go back to my cell and sleep good. So, on the way, after leaving the Bible study, a couple of the guys came and approached me and started to talk to me about some of the stuff I was talking about. And I was talking about some of the stuff around Islam and some of the stuff around the occult and all of that. And I said to them, so you guys understand this stuff that I'm talking about? And they said, yeah, they understand what I'm talking about. And I thought, and you guys are Christians? And they said, yeah. So I said, okay, you need to explain this to me because I'm confused. I don't know how you can possibly be Christians and you understand this stuff here. So then they explained, a couple of the scriptures, and they started to show me certain scriptures in the Bible. And then And I said, okay, I'll go and I'll read these tonight, and then tomorrow we'll meet up in the yard and we'll discuss this. So I read those scriptures. It was there were scriptures in John, in the Gospel of John, and I read that, and then we met up in the yard, and I had loads of questions around that, and then they answered my questions, and I thought, okay, and they gave me some more scriptures to read. So that evening, I went to my cell and thought, okay, let's read this one then. They seemed to, things in my mind were starting to open a little bit about what they were saying. And then that evening, when I was in the cell, it was that was when I had a supernatural visitation of Christ, and the only way I can explain the way that Christ came into that cell was that as I was reading the Bible, he just revealed the extent to where I had gone. And, because the whole time when I was, involved in this occult, I actually believed that what I was worshipping was God. I believed that I was right and all these Christians had been deceived. And it was at that point when I had realised that I was the one who had actually been deceived. And the extent to which I'd been deceived, and that that was the devil that I was worshipping. And then I just felt such a deep sense of guilt at that point. But at the same time, I also felt a deep sense of God's forgiveness and grace and his mercy. And that, that even to the extent where I had committed such sins, I knew that God had forgiven me. And it was like those two feelings all at once, two contradictory feelings, just washed down from the top of my head right down to my toes. And then I just, tears came to my eyes, and I just gave my life to Christ at that point in time.